All right, so here's the other video. This one's called "The Problem with Female-Fronted Bands." That's in quotes. So I'm interested to see what Finn has to say about this topic. Here we go.
What's up, everybody? I'm Finn McKenty. This is my second channel, and this is your home for my Twitch highlights and my podcast. So if you like this and you want to see more of that and you want to join the live streams, there's a link to that in the description of this video. And with that out of the way, let's talk about female-fronted stuff while I'm fired up. I have a Spirit Box video playing in the background while I talk.
What happened before?
Why not? Sorry, Courtney. I hope you don't hate me for this. So one of the questions that I get a lot is, hey, would you ever do a video about female fronted bands or something along those lines? And the answer is no. I know that people mean well when they ask for that, because we have the same goal, which is, I've talked about many times in lots of different videos, why it's bad for the metal scene to be a sausage fest.
That was awesome.
You don't want it to be like when you go see Deicide or something.
I've never seen anybody do that.
It's like, 99.9% dudes with beards scowling out there. And, why would any woman want to be there? And you wonder, like, this can't be healthy, right? Because remember, 50% of the planet is women. So number one, just from purely a marketing perspective, we should want more women at shows and listening to bands and stuff, because if we care about this music, we want everybody to listen to it and we want everyone to feel welcome, right? Number two, I think it's just like, I don't know. I think it's better to have a scene, like, I value actual diversity, and that means different people with different kinds of energy and backgrounds and stuff like that. And
as somebody just as somebody who puts out music, I want as many people. I don't care where you're from, what your gender is, your pronouns are. I don't care. I just want you to jam my music. Absolutely.
I think it's just like more fun to have a scene.
Yeah, it is more fun.
Just dudes with beards, right? So we should.
Hey, what you got against dudes with beards, huh? Huh, Finn? That's right. I paused on this part on purpose because of what you said about my beard. No, listen.
Want more women to be part of the scene. We agree on that. But the reason why I don't want to make videos about female fronted bands is because I actually think that it is counter to that goal. And the reason why is because what it does is
he fears the beards.
Reduces the people in these bands, the women in these bands specifically, to their gender, and puts them off in their own little box, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, you're not just a band, you're a female fronted band. Right? I don't think that's the answer. I don't think that.
So here's my thing with this. I think the labeling of it is lame. However, I think the distinction is because of the scarcity of it. If that makes sense. Like it's hard because it's like, I think when you use the label, it sounds like stupid. But I think it's just to draw a distinction because, quite frankly, there just aren't that many bands in metal that happen to have a female as the singer. It's just not as common because metal is primarily dudes with beards.
That's like separate but equal, basically, right? Like it's literal segregation. To put the bands with women in them off in this little section away from everyone else, which is like sort of what we have implicitly said. That's a point he makes later. Okay. Normal is the bands with men in them, and that bands with women in them are somehow like different and special, and we have to like put them in their own little box away from all the regular bands, right? And so I actually think that thinking about it that way is actually detrimental to making women feel welcome in the scene and to being respectful. Because, like, you don't want a participation trophy. You don't want your own special category, right? You just want to be like a person in a band who just happens to be female, right? And the same thing goes for like any other sort of identity, like being, trans or gay or, black or whatever. Like, I think it's very strange that in the Oscars or whatever, there's like a Best Actress award, which I find very strange. Like, what if there was like a Best Black Actor award? You'd be like, So I'm not good enough to win the regular award. Like, you had to make a special category for me, and that's the only one I can win.
I guess to me, I think of that like this. I think when in that context, right? Like having an actor and an actress award. I think with that, it's like there's only two, right? Like in that context, right? Actor, actress. I don't think that it's equivalent to like an ethnicity award. I just don't think that that's equivalent because there's a variety of them, right? But I think in that context, actor and actress, and that's assuming that, somebody identifies as female or male to participate in those awards, or to earn that award, I should say. I don't see that equivalence, but I also think that it's like a way to also just kind of give more shine to more people, which then you could argue, maybe there is the Black Actor Award or whatever. But again, I don't think that those things are equivalent.
Right? I think it's really strange. So that's kind of the same way that I feel about this idea of female fronted. There's this other thing that happens, which is almost like the flip side of it, which is like they get put on a pedestal, or like they're treated special, like, wow, that's so cool. Like, you're a woman and you play in a band. It's very like patronizing, right? And I do think it's weird. I really do. There's people out there who sort of make a big deal out of the fact that they, like bands with women in them. And again, I don't know, I can't speak for women because I'm not one, but I would be kind of like bummed out if I felt like somebody only listened to my music, or like that part of the reason why they listen to music is like, oh, you want to listen to the band because I'm a girl? Like, thanks, but shouldn't you just want to listen to the music? Like, why does it matter what gender the people in the band are? We shouldn't care. One thing I hear people say sometimes is that, well, I don't care about the gender of the musicians in a band, but women have higher voices, so it actually does change the sound of the music. And again, that's not really true either. Anthony Green has a higher voice than most women do. Than
that's
like,
a very
Tatiana
weird argument to make.
Or like, there's tons of people in the scene, tons of like male singers that have really high voices, and of course, on balance, most women tend to have higher voices than most men, but that's not even true across the board. My basic point here is that I don't think it's helpful to treat female musicians any differently than male musicians. I think it's actually counterproductive because what this is an idea that is called essentialism. Essentialism is the belief that we are different based on any sort of like innate characteristic that we are born with. For example, the idea that people of different races are somehow fundamentally different, right? We recognize this about race, I think. Not always, though, because there is some of that, too. But that's why we don't have a best black actor category, because everyone knows. So that's just weird. Like, why would you have an award for black people that's different from the award for everyone else? That's strange.
You're right.
We wouldn't do that. And yet you see these lists all the time of like top 10 female fronted bands. And what people don't realize is that by treating women that way, and I do think they mean well, but what they don't realize is that by talking about female musicians that way, by defining them according to their gender, what they have done is actually, again, continue to separate them from the rest of the scene, which is the real problem here, right? We want women to participate in the scene if they feel like it. We want them to feel welcome. And so to continue to essentially other them and put them in their own special little category, I think is unhelpful. And I think it's a little bit condescending and infantilizes them a little bit to sort of act or believe that they need to be treated differently or treated, I don't know, like they need to be protected or something like that. I think is.
Well, so the other thing too is like if you go to Spotify, like here, I'll pull it up right now. Is it like Metal Queens or something like that? Is that the play? Yeah. So you got the Century Media Records, but there's a Spotify playlist that's like Queens of Metal or something like, I can't remember exactly what it's called. I can't remember the playlist name, but there are like these playlists that are developed by, in that case, a record label or Spotify in general that is specifically for that. which I think further, like somebody said that he's going to make the point later, but about like it being more so a distinction rather than a label. Because I don't know, I guess like some people could look at it as like they prefer I don't know, anime to like Better Call Saul or something like that. That would make sense, but yeah, and okay, Glinting, good seeing you, man. I'll be posting the VATIC. It'll be up on the VOD and whatever and all that stuff. But yeah, I think that we see that too, is that there's a lot of like playlists that are made by these platforms specifically for what would be like female fronted bands in a way.
It's a little bit patronizing and infantilizes them a little bit. One thing that I do think is also super weird about this idea of like female fronted, or just when it comes to women in bands in general, is that their appearance always seems to come up. For example, when I played the new Avril Lavigne song a few months ago, and everyone's saying, like in the comments of the video, are saying, "Oh, she looks great. She hasn't aged a day." Why do we always bring up women's appearance? Like they don't say that about Mod Sun, who's also in the video, and he's like the same age as.
I guess in that sense, you could argue that it's a heterosexual comment in terms of like it's a heterosexual male that is viewing a female who they are either attracted to or whatever. Like, so in a way, I get that. Like, I would never make a comment like that. I think it's weird. But like, I get why somebody may say that. Like, again, I wouldn't. I think it's weird. But like, I could see why somebody would argue, well, I say that about them because I'm attracted to females as opposed to being attracted to males, so in a way, I like, if we're going to try to like 200 IQ this or whatever, again, it is weird, but we never talk about men's looks. And I think, but again, I think that kind of goes back to what you're like natively attracted to, if that makes sense.
Is her. And then I'll go, "Oh, Mod Sun looks great. He hasn't aged a day since he was 20. Why? Like, it's interesting that women's appearance is always sort of part of the conversation in a way that's not true of men. Again, I think people mean well. They're paying her a compliment. So I think that they mean well. When people talk about the idea of unconscious bias, this is what they're talking about. That the sort of implicit thing that we're saying here is that women's appearance, that we judge women for their appearance in a way that isn't true of men. And I think that is true. So even when we're paying them a compliment, to bring their appearance.
Okay. So to cast a wider net, I would say, in general, I think that happens on YouTube and Twitch and all that. Like, I feel like women, females, I feel like they get a lot of more of that type of interaction, both positive and negative. So I was looking at it from just like being a metal fan perspective or whatever. But to cast a wider net, women are definitely like targeted more in that way, and it's not okay. It is fucked up. It is.
Is weird. What you're doing there is putting women in this other category where we treat them differently and we talk differently about them, things like that reveal some of this unconscious bias. Again, I think people mean well, but it's a little bit weird. I'm never going to choose whether I.
And I think people mean well too. I'm always going to assume the intent is fine. Like I don't think the intent is necessarily malicious, but it's just they don't think about it like what they're saying in that way for whatever reason.
Would talk or not talk about an artist based on their gender, based on their sexuality, based on their skin color, based on anything else other than like what they choose to do with themselves and their music and their career. Differentiating between groups of people based on innate characteristics is othering, and it's not helpful. It's putting them in its own separate category that's not helpful. So that's the reason why I'm never going to make videos about this. Again, I understand that people mean well. I'm not trying to like come at people, for using the term female fronted or anything like that. My point is just that to define them based on having women in the band is essentially segregation. And I don't think that segregation is a good thing for the scene. I don't think it's a good thing for women. I don't think it's a good thing for anyone. Segregation is not equality. So by all means, I completely support the desire to have women participate more in the scene and feel welcome. I am 110% on board with that. The part that I would challenge is that I don't think that relying on this idea of female fronted is the way to do it. So that's what I wanted to say. I want to look at the chat here. If you compliment a woman's talent, you must follow it up by saying she's pretty. This is common internet etiquette. Exactly. Again, I know people mean well, but you wouldn't say the same thing about a man, right? I mean, I do. I always talk about how beautiful Ollie Sykes and Andy Biersack are, but that's because I'm weird. I'd say Ollie Sykes is incredibly talented, and also, have I talked about how devastatingly handsome he is lately? Because if not, let me do that for 5 minutes. Because the scene is so much of a sausage party, we objectify any woman that comes into the scene, whether we mean to or not. This is true. We talk about men's appearances too, but mostly just to shit on them. I don't think we do, though. I mean, we talk about the way they dress or something like that, but again, that's a choice. I don't really think that people talk about men's appearance nearly that much. I don't think it happens. To use an example of Courtney, there was a picture of her going around that, where people discussing.
I mean, to use another example, right? Another real life example, in general, right? Guys they'll be at a table out to a restaurant, and the waitress is nice to them, and they leave their number. How do I know that? Because I was a dumbass, and I've done that in the past. But I don't feel like women do that. As a server myself, back in the day, I got a phone number left for me once. And the women that I worked with had them left all the time. They just did. It was all the time. Some could argue, well, Rich, you're just not as good looking as those women are good looking. And it's no, I just don't feel like, I just feel like men they can be weird. I mean, they just are. I mean, I hear horror stories. My girlfriend, she's told me horror stories about before her and I met. Just men are, I think there's more weird men than weird women. I think that's fair to say. I mean, just based off of my real life experience.
Were they having that same conversation about the other bands on that bill? I don't think so. Did we bring up the fact that the dude from this band gained or lost a few pounds? No, we don't really. I mean, it does happen, but not in the same way. We don't scrutinize men's appearances the same way that we do women's appearances.
Yeah.
Not to mention the fact that every dude who is criticizing her for that can't see past their fupa. There is that too. There is that. Treat everyone the same. Judge everybody based on their choices and their work. That's what I'm advocating for. Band members' gender shouldn't influence your opinion on an artist or band. Work and choices are paramount. Exactly. That's how I feel about it. So for everyone who has asked me if I'm going to make a video about female fronted bands. Oh, by the way, the other thing is the female fronted thing I think is odd because why does that have to be female fronted? A female drummer or bassist or guitarist isn't enough for you. They have to be the
Johnny, thank you for the follow.
I always thought that part was kind of weird. But anyway, there it is. No hottest dudes in the scene video. Listen, I reserve the right to objectify men, all right? As a man, it is my right to objectify other men as much as I want in whatever way I want, okay? So, will there be a hottest dudes in the scene video? There might be. There might be.
Yeah, make sure you guys follow Finn on Twitch if you're not already. And I'll link the video here too. But I just want to say, I want to kind of reiterate my point. I think context is very important with this in terms of I think it's how you approach it. If you're dude, you've got to listen to this band. It's female fronted. That's weird. But if you're if it's almost like an afterthought, right? If you're oh man, you should check out this band, and somebody's like, man, who's the singer? You're oh yeah, it's a female fronted band. It's this person or whatever. That's probably not a great example, but I think when you're using it as a distinction versus a label, and in the context and how you present that is important. Again, nobody's gonna explode if they do this incorrectly or whatever. But it is in general. I think it's weird to kind of lump it in. But I also think that it's there's an anomaly factor in metal in particular. I don't think anybody's man, that female fronted pop act. It just doesn't happen because Well, there's a lot of them. But yeah, context is really, really important. Exactly. Yeah. No, it's an interesting issue. It's an interesting issue because, especially with the rise of Spirit Box, and stuff like that. I think it's a really cool conversation to have.